Hi, this is my first full-form YouTube video, and it's going to be where I interview my history teacher about his fishing experiences. He may talk about terms like a town called Aitkin or Team 7B, things like that. Those are just parts of where I live and parts of my school. Enjoy the interview.
So, I'm Tom Sanford, American history teacher for 7th grade here in Team 7B. And I also love to fish. And so Ezra loves to fish as well. And he wanted to know if I could answer a few questions he has concerning the topic of fishing.
Question 1. What is the biggest fish that you have ever caught? What were you using and where were you fishing?
Okay, the biggest fish I ever caught, I'm not a muskie fisherman, but while fishing walleyes, I happened to catch a muskie. And it was, oh gosh, at least 20 years ago. I don't remember the exact year. My wife and I were together fishing. We had rainbow chubs on, and it was MEA weekend, that fall break, and it was howling wind.
Yeah.
And we just caught a couple nice walleyes on Cedar Lake near where we live in Aiken. Not a great walleye lake, but known for nice walleyes. And I had that on Ezra, and I thought, oh boy, this is the 33, 34-inch fish, which would be a great walleye, right?
Yeah.
Anything over 30. And it was staying down like a walleye typically would, and head bouncing, and all of a sudden it came up, and I knew it wasn't a walleye. And then it tarponed out of the water with those waves rolling. And it was 42 inches, not a huge muskie by any stretch, but
Decent.
it was a decent fish. And my wife couldn't reach it. I mean, because the wind was blowing our boat back, and I ended up having to hand her the rod and reach out and get it in. So, yeah, I'll always remember that.
Question 2. What is your favorite fishing lure and why is it your favorite?
Well, it'd be a tie Rapala, because it's something I love fishing bass. I love the strike on the top water. It's not very technical fishing, but it's just a hoot. I can also use that Rapala, a smaller version of that Rapala, an F5 I use for trout. I could use it in catching crappies in the springtime, as crazy as that sounds. And of course I can catch walleyes and northerns on it. Trolling in the spring or fall when those fish are up in the shallows. So, and then the other one would just be a jig. I love to walleye fish with the traditional jig minnow.
Okay. Question 3. What is your favorite species to fish for and why?
Oh, that's a tough question, Ezra, because they all have their
Pros and cons.
I just kind of depends on the time of the year. But if push comes to shove and I have to pick, be bass.
Okay.
Because I just love the fight of the bass and the challenge of laying that lure right next to that log or tree, and where they often hang out. And so, yeah, largemouth bass.
Question 4. What is the best fishing trip that you have ever had?
Oh, so many. Jeez. I suppose the most memorable would be Steph, my wife, and I on our honeymoon in Canada on a flying fishing trip. You don't do that much, right? And so the only time we've ever gotten away with our big family, and the walleyes were jumping in the boat, and smallmouth bass and pike, and we were the only people on the entire lake, and it's just pristine, and mayflies were hatching, we're killing the walleyes. I'll never forget. Yeah.
Question 5. What is your go-to fishing lure when nothing is working and why?
When nothing is working and why? They call it a puddle jumper. You can buy them at like Fleet. It's got like a split tail, and to put that on an 1/8 or 1/16 ounce jig, it seems like you can catch multiple species with that. When fish are a little finicky, that tipped with like a crappie minnow. I've caught so many walleyes doing that when they're maybe not aggressive, but that lighter approach, not to mention you're gonna obviously catch crappies, pike, bass. It's just that smaller approach. It's like, Ezra, if you're full, but somebody offers you I got a Girl Scout cookie there, one cookie. You might say, I'll take that. So just that smaller approach of that downsizing a jig with that plastic tail tipped with a small minnow is my go-to.
Okay. What got you into fishing?
Oh, my dad and grandpa. I have memories of just a little boy sitting in the boat with my grandpa, who was born in 1898, right? So that kind of dates things,
Yeah.
right? And those memories, and of course my dad, and the time we spent together, and I'll never forget.
Question 7. Do you prefer artificial lures or live bait, and why?
You're not going to like my answer, but both. But I mean, it so depends on the situation. Obviously I prefer artificial because you don't have to mess around with the bait from that standpoint. You don't have to buy the bait. You don't have to deal with that. But when all else fails, it seems like that minnow or night crawler, fishing walleyes, leech, what have you. If I had to pick, though, I suppose I'd go artificial with like the Rapala I mentioned, things like that. Spinner baits, crank baits, that
It
kind
could
of
just
thing.
sometimes depend on the day, right?
Depends on the day, the weather. The weather's everything. It's everything in fishing.
Question 8. If you were to choose between ice fishing, fly fishing, or normal fishing, which one would you choose for the rest of your life, and why?
I like getting in my boat. I have not a real fancy boat, but I have a tracker, they call it, and it's a V front but flat bottom. It's kind of the best of both worlds. 25 horse Merc, not huge, but I can get into pretty small lakes. I can use it for duck hunting too, and I just enjoy in the summer exploring different places when I have the opportunity to fish. I love winter fishing, don't get me wrong, but you're kind of hamstrung. The time it takes to move around, the freedom of a boat to move about from point to island to bay, I would pick that.
Okay. Question 9. What do you think is the fish that fights the hardest for its size?
No one will agree with me on this, but we would say the traditional northern one that's run. I think a big bluegill. I mean, for its size is your
Yeah.
question, right? And we enjoy with all of our kids. When they were little, you want to take them out where there's action, and the patience it takes sometimes to catch the more game fish. And I remember taking them out and catching these big palm-sized bluegills, and how they spin when they're coming up and pull. I think they're a fierce fighter.
Question 10. What is your favorite type of place to fish? Lakes, ponds, rivers, or streams, and why?
Small lakes because they don't get the pressure. Small lakes where not many people live, and there's more of them around than you think. They don't get the pressure of the traditional place. Everybody wants to go leech and Winnie and Mille Lacs and gull and pelican, and I like fishing small lakes. It doesn't get the pressure, and it's really fast. You can really learn a lake fast that way. We always say 90% of the lake doesn't have fish, 10% does. You kind of figure out where are those fish, and it's a small body of water, and you can quickly get in, figure it out, and have some memories made.
Question 11. If you could choose any fish of any size to catch, which one would you choose and why?
Here again, bass.
Just like a little bit
No one will
bass.
agree with that, but we're just, and then this will shock anyone that listens to this. We eat bass. We love catching bass, and I will argue with anyone on it. And when we catch them, we bleed them. We keep the smaller ones. I let the big females go, and we put them on ice right away. And that skin is pure white. All that blood's out, and they're fun to catch. You're always going to catch bass. It's always walleye is just a different animal around here, but you're always going to have action. That's what I love, and I love them for table fare.
Question 12. What is one fishing tip that has changed how you fished and why?
Say that one more time.
What is one fishing tip that has changed how you fished and why?
I have probably one tip would be this. I'm kind of a hyper person, as you know. I get patient sometimes, and a wise man said to me, don't leave fish to find fish. Once you find fish, stay on them, you know, and make those memories there. Because they're jumping in. But when you're on fish, don't leave fish to find fish. Because then
kinda
you
like
may
don't
not
get
get them
greedy.
back, right? So,
And final question, if fishing has taught you one thing, what would it be?
well, we'll contradict what I just said about patience, but for sure it teaches you patience. Because, you know, we're here. The world we live in, this has taught us to not have patience.
Yeah.
This thing has taught us not to have patience because it's just, and the beauty of fishing is it's like problem solving 101. You got to go on the water, you know, you got to find the fish, you got to be patient because they just don't jump in the boat, right? And I just love that challenge to go out on a body of water, figure out where are they and what are they biting on, and then I always say make some memories. You get older, it's just about the memories, right?
Yeah. Well,
So
thank you for letting me
fun. I always love talking fishing, Ezra.
Yep,
All right.
and I'll see you next time.